I want you to come on. And if not, there's those that studied the science, and we should teach it from no biasness and be willing to sit at the round table and study as theosophists, as master masons, as master craftsmen, understanding and understanding whatever you want to say, the Kemetic principles, understanding the Kemetic principles, understanding divine creed and nationality, understanding that. Agreed, family? Agreed? We should explain this. When someone's showing you this, what do it mean? What do this mean? Because the only way we're going to, just because we have things, it's like I was doing a lecture, and one of my brothers, he was like, you know, what history are you coming from? And I say, brother, the same stuff that you have. So we have to read the science. And if we don't understand the science, we have to ask questions to get things right. But what do these signs and symbols mean? What is the flush of God? What is the crest or the Christ? What is the three wise men or the pineal gland or that pituitary gland? When I'm talking about the brain, when I talk about the constellations, when I talk about the 12 functions of the brain, when we're talking about the spell of words, what boy mean, biological youth organism, you, your own universe, God, generator, operator, destroyer. We talk about the number system. We talk about supreme mathematics. We do the E in the alphabet, 5, G7, Y7, P7, T2. You got the 4 sevens. I mean, it's the science, the 90, 90, 90, 90 degrees in the square. But fellas, also you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing with the circle because they both are 90 degrees. My writing ain't that good, but understand what I'm saying. We talk about science. When we level things, when we talk about the compass, can square and circle everything. If you're a master craftsman, it's all our science. 32 and 33 degrees is no science. We have 99 rites. The primitive rite, the ancient rite of Memphis and Mizraim. That's in the scripture. Mizraim is Egypt in the biblical text, family. When we talk about the 7 laws of the universe, vibration, correspondence, polarity, principles, connotated of the hermetic principles. You understand, family? So when we say Islam, like I said, I self-law and master, that's self-manifestation. I just gave the 7 laws of the universe and the 7 lotus wheels and the 7 veils. That's the manifestation. That's the root, the genital, the solar, the heart, the throat, the pineal, the crown. That's man. That's your chemical makeup. We talking science. We talking man-made in the image of God. I hope we understand the science. Understanding the signs and symbols. There's no spookism, Morris. Look, the 12 zodiac signs, 12 constellations, 12 function of the brain. Every constellation have 3 deacons. What's above has to match below. I hope you follow me, family. Look at the signs, the star and the moon, the ma and the sun, the mother and the son coming together, the self and the soul, the compass to circumscribe, the ruler to measure it. As above, so below. As above, so below, the 2 manifestations. The fear of the earth, fire, earth, air, river, water. That's that cross. What's that? That's what that does. Sustain. That's sustain. Without those elements, we all be gone. We talk about carbon. What's carbon? Carbon is the key of life. Everything has carbon. If it didn't, everything on this earth plane would be dead. The closer you get to the sun, is carbon is a darker color. So we got to understand the context of when words are being used. And let nobody use a word on you and think that word just mean the same thing in certain contexts. We can't be afraid to use the right words. So let's finish. So when we talk about the Quran, what's the essence of Quran? Knowledge, order, rhythm, astrology, astronomy, nature. That's all elements of understanding man and earth and God and coming into one. The yin and the yang, the Tayo, the pentagram, or the 5-pointer star, whatever you want to call it. Chemical makeup of man, arm, leg, arm, head. We talk about testament. Break that down, Eddie Man. Break those things down. The test the body, the menti, our mind. The old becomes new. Nothing a part of you has to die. That's just controlling your lower self or controlling that pendulum. When we talk about the thermostat is hot and cold. It just depends on the level of the pendulum. And we can control that pendulum. We operating in our higher self. Come on, man. I'm explaining how we operate in our higher self. The Latin synonymy, the star child, the law structure. When I talked about the air, fire, the water, the earth, the 90 and 90, the 360. Come on, man. When we talk about the 7 chakras, we talk about the wisdom, the order, the life, elimination, our strength, our love, our power, our nature, the will, understanding. Understanding, wisdom, knowledge is science, man. In the circle. 7 is perfection on the physical plane. Do we see the science? If we don't know what it is, we should be willing to ask. We shouldn't be going to places and things are being said and we don't know what the science is. 7 is perfection on the physical plane. I hope we know this. So when I talk about what is 360, the sum of material knowledge, 720 is the sum total of both spiritual and material knowledge. That's when we talk about mastering our higher self, Morris. That's what that my son is. Come on, man. Research what that Afro-Ra, Africa, the flush of God. Research this science. I'm telling you, man. So that's a little bit of that esoteric science. So you can't get caught up in confusion. And when Moore's saying some things about is and what it's not, and what and what's not in the Moore's Quran, our Moore's Quran, you know who about the Hebrew God. It's all in here. Even in our Secret Brotherhood of the East, it talks about the Hebrew God. You know what I mean? It talks about the Hebrew God. The Hebrew God is the circle of the 7, the logos. I hope we know this science. It's in our Quran. It's in there, Morris. It's in here. It's all in there. It's in our Secret Brotherhood of the East. It's in all our science books. It talks about it. It talks about the Hebrew God, the logos, the circle of the 7. I mean, I hope we know this. It says it in our book, man. I got so much highlighted. Let me see. Let me see if I find it here for you real fast. Because I hate talking about something and then don't show and prove. But I got so much. Let me see. But if you study, I want you to look it up and see what chapter when it talks about the Hebrew God and what the essence is really all about. Let me see if I can find it for you. And y'all, I'm gonna find it, but I got it in my Brotherhood of the East. Let me see. I'll be reading this thing every day, man. I just wait, this is it. Bam. Now I'm gonna read it to you, and I want y'all to find it yourself. Listen, and we're gonna talk about this. The Hebrew prophet is the rising star of wisdom, defied. He brings to us a knowledge of the secret things of Allah and all the world, will hear his words and glorify his name. You priests of the temple, captivistivu, stay, be still, and listen when he speaks. He is the living oracle of Allah. He is the living oracle of Allah. I hope y'all understand that science, Moors. We connect the dots. Connect the dots. We're not here to argue over nothing. We connect the dots. It's a science. It's a science. When people don't want to tell the truth and share the science with you, I'll say, man, it's a science there. Jesus, which is Yahshua, received the mystic name and number and passed the first brotherhood test. The master took down the wall and scroll on which was written down the number and name of every attribute, character, and he said, listen, Morris, the circle of the symbol of the perfect man, and the 7 is the number of the perfect man, right? The logos is the perfect word, that which creates, that which destroys, and that which saves. This Hebrew master is the logos of the Holy One, the circle of the human race, the 7 of time. And in the record book, the scribe wrote down the logos, circle 7, and thus was Jesus, which was Yahshua, known. The master said, the logos will give heed to what I say. No man can enter into light or illumination. That's my point. Till he has found himself. Go forth and search till you have found your soul, and then return. The guide led Jesus, which is Yahshua, to a room in which the light was faint and mellow like the light of early dawn. The chamber walls were marked with the mystic sign, with hieroglyph and sacred text. And in the chamber, Jesus, which is Yahshua, found himself alone, and he remained for days. And this is explaining the biblical story, but you follow me, Morris. You follow me when we talk about the science. Don't let nobody get you confused or connotated in religious allegory or parables or their connotation. I'm telling you, man. So let's talk about this. Let's finish talking about this 666 thing and how a person can get you all caught up in the wrong thing and spookism. And they're not speaking on science. When we talk about esoterically and exoteric, we must understand these things. So 666 to the carbon atom and man family. Carbon 12, one of the 5 elements in the human DNA, is composed of six electrons and 6 neutrons, which equates to the 666 number, Morris. When we talk about this context, of course, it means other things in a biblical text when we're talking about Roman government and things. But in this context, this is what we're talking about. In this context, carbon 12 is the most abundant of the 2 stable isotope element carbon, meaning the chemical makeup, accounting for almost, I say, 99% of carbon. You know, its abundance is due to the triple alpha process, by which it is created in stars. And as Carl, one of the so-called scientists, said, we're made of star stuff in songs and things. It's not bad in other contexts. When I say context, about how people explain it. It's not bad in other contexts when the biblical scripture is talking about the government. When I talk about context, meaning we must know what that 666 means in that context or that explanation. So we don't think it means the same thing in every context. That's all. That's all, brother. That's all I'm saying. So 666 mean multiple things, but in this context, we're talking about the chemical makeup of man. So we don't just spookism or this man-made dogma. So the English name carbon Moors come from the Latin carbor, for coal and charcoal. If you read the religious Bible, it's right in the scriptures. It's also comes the French carbon, meaning charcoal, Moors. Proof of 666 is also found in the Bible. You can look in Isaiah 6:6, the one of to us with a live coal. which he had to take to thongs to the altar. The name Seprium means the burning ones, are the first hierarchy of angels who some call demons, that were cherubim and thrones. We're talking about this mental thing, man. Beelzebub, a so-called prince of the Seprium, just below the so-called Lucifer. We got to know what these words denotate, because see, we're getting connotated. We're going to talk. Lucifer is another word for what, Morris? I hope when I talk about Latin and Greek, I hope we know this. Lucifer is another word for phosphorus. I hope we know this. Corresponding to the Greek phosphorus is Lucifer. Phosphorus, a name meaning light bringer, is the morning star. Is the morning star. The morning star. And hydrogen, carbon can form many groups of important biological components, sugars, alcohols, fats, all other stuff. So we gotta know this science, man. Chemical makeup of man. When the 666 of carbon is combined with the elements above and mixed with Lucifer or the Phos or the Horus, it's a connection. We get a combination or a reaction or a synchronicity of chemical elements that form DNA and RNA. This magical God-given chemical code is the very code for all life of a man. His number is 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons, 603 score and 6. 603 score and 6. Various chemical elements, when combined with carbon, forms our very material reality, Morse, or what some may call what? That matrix. What's above has to match below. I hope y'all follow me, man. My brother, like, please, like, keep going. So now peep this. We talk about how these allegorical stories, symbology, analogy, allegory, parables, understand this or understand whatever we want to say. In the biblical scripture, John the Baptist said of the coming Antichrist per se. And another thing, when people talk about Antichrist, there's no man Antichrist. People talking out Obama stuff. If you understand words and etymon and etymology, Antichrist is a compound word. Anti mean replacement. Who is the replacement? Come on, man. I'm telling you. So do the science. But John the Baptist said of the coming Antichrist and the number of the beast, let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and it is his number 606. 603 score and 6. Now watch this. People come with their own conspiracies and all that, and they scenarios, etc. And I don't get into all that. You know what I mean? I get into the things that can be proven, the things that nature and nature go together, and nature agree. You know, that's why we have to get a certain amount of that regular vitamin D, at least 2 hours. I mean, it's certain things that when people talk about soul food and chemicals, man, I'm 40. I'm not gonna take, but I do the right things. I eat right. I run 10 miles a day. We supposed to do things to understand alchemy, but we don't get caught up in certain possible scenarios. We get into certain things that can be proven in science, and that is the number was passed down to us from the apocalypse, unveiling some of the hidden or some of the gnosis to help us identify the beast man with the mathematical number 666. The mathematical number 666. The number 666 may be sequence of DNA, genetic signals, or DNA fragments necessary for successful what? Cloning or whatever you want to do with that gene or with that generated modified organism. You see what I'm saying? Man was created on the 6th day per se. The number 6 represents man and is not a perfect number. Therefore, 666 is man's number and stops short of a perfect number 7 because it has to do with some divinity with that. We just kicking the science. That's all we doing is kicking science, right? That's all we doing is kicking science. So we're done with, so let's see. We're done with that one. My brother like, all right, I got you, bro. Hold on. What did I do? But yeah, man. So let me get this back up running for you. I'm sorry about that, family. Give me 1 second. But that's a little science that we eliminate spookism and someone trying to get us caught up in some false science about 666 and some spookism and trying to tell you Lucifer is some devil. You know, that's not even it, family. I don't know what's happening. Let me see this thing. Let me see. Oh, there we go. I was gonna say I'm about to have. Honey, hold on, family. Let me go to my account. Bam. But yeah, man. So now we talked about that 666. We're gonna talk about what? We're gonna talk about that Baphomet. That's one of the things that my brother actually was asking about. So we're gonna shed some light on that, and then that's gonna be it. If everything come back up. Oh, what? Yeah, my signal will be crazy here, family. So excuse me. All right, let's see. Yeah, everything's super slow. So be patient. That's how it is. But did we understand that? Well, that was simple, right? That was simple science, I hope, right? Did we understand that science, family? If we did, I hope we did. Come on. We understood about that supreme mathematics, about circling our square, right? And 360 and all that. Exactly. Oh, it's tripping. I don't know what's going on. Hold on, family. Hold on. Be patient with me. I ain't all technically inclined like that. Yep. But also, Eliseus Levi connotated that science. We got to know that. Eliseus Levi, like I said, no science come from the West. All come from the East. He connotated this from the happy, which is the name of the Nile, which is still Greek, or corruption Greek, of Neolus, of the Egyptian, the NWY of the Egyptian hieroglyph means water. You know, so no science came from the West, all from the East. But exactly right. But it's nothing scary. That's what we must understand. This is nothing scary. If we look up everything and look what it says and read everything on there instead of being afraid of a sign and a symbol that may mean something way deeper or high science, which it does. So we must understand this science. Man, even like, I don't want to pull out all my history books. Like if you research the secret doctrine of Adam Levin, all that science, when we talk about the Gnosticism or the mystics, all that science comes from the East. Research it. Adam Levinsky will tell you she studied from Moors, the science and crafts. And that's the only way you perfect yourself. We don't get into arguments with no religious dogma. We're supposed to be scientists. So let's dig a bit in science, but research who Eliseus Levi is, and then research that Baphomet. Research them signs and symbols. Research all that. Research how that's connotated. All science comes from the East. I promise you. So let's get into the science. When I just give it to you about how things are spelled Kabbalistically, because one of my brothers was asking me about should we study Kabbalah. And I tell brothers, should we study Kabbalah? If you are more and you study the science, you should know all this. This is more science. Moors. I tell Moors, if you study under the right auspices, like I said, our school is open at the YMCA, and I'm a scientist. I'm a teacher. You get the 32 and 33 degrees in the science. And if you're part of a more science temple, you should get that in your temple. Because that's what it teaches in the temple. You get your first 32 and 33 degrees in the temple. Let me give you something, family. Let me give you a little science real quick, for we can know. How did our prophet travel? By compass and square. By compass and square. You want me to explain? I will. He used his compass to keep all his carnal desires under control, picked up the square to straighten out all the crooked places of fallen humanity, to make the corners of our conduct square. That's talking about the use of our workman tools, Moors. That's in our Quran. That's in our Circle 7 Quran when I tell you we must understand the 7 Kemetic principles. We're talking about our workman tools, correcting ourselves, understanding the use of them. How did our prophet travel once? Through the Masonic order until he became a noble. Then he entered Islam. Not no Al-Islam, no Arab Islam. We're talking about American Islam. Because in Moorish science, in Sufism and Islamism, God and man is one. Who represent Islam in the West? Since 1912 CE, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Did our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali enter the shrine? Yeah, he did enter Islam that way. Listen, family, does this mean Moorish Americans should seek to become Masons and Shriners? No. I just explained to you. Why? Because if your brother or your sister teaching you the right way, there's no longer a need for this, because the prophet and our scientists, our master teachers today, if brothers going around giving themselves titles, appointed titles, these shouldn't be no elected. These titles should be appointed from the wisdom. But there's no need for that, because our prophet gave us 32 and 33 degrees in our divine structure number 2. When he placed the tabra and the mithra, which is the turban, on our captive, which is our crown, and gave us the science. That's why we don't wear our fez and our turban in clandestine. That's why they call them sons of Muslims, Moslems. It's a difference. It's a divinity attached to Muslim. We got to understand this. Don't let nobody connotate us with certain things, Moors. We come in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice and health. That's why they call them the joke of masonry. We wear our fez because it's a birthright. And when I tell my sisters, when I tell my Eastern stars, that's you. You are the Eastern star. That white fez and that gold tassel, that's you. That's your birth canal. You have every right to wear a fez. If anybody tell you any different, they tripping. Our fez represents the birth cycle. It has everything to do with the woman. And if any more tell you anything different, he's lying. He's not operating on love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, and wealth. He's not. He's operating on ego. And that's lower self. But who amongst the highest of Rome entered Al-Islam practice? Al-Islam. 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 That's that Arabic or that Arab masonry. Who? Masons. Research it. I'm telling you. Brothers or sisters that join that European masonry, even the Prince Hall masonry, they went and got permission from the European Masons. It's just facts. And they wanted to have a problem with the more of the scientists, Prince Bega and everybody that have our science in the Library of Congress. At what degrees? 32 degrees. What is the secret password? If you a high scientist, assalamu alaikum. What occurs then? A Mason bows on his knees to Islam, proclaim that Allah is God, becoming a practicing Muslim. Science, Moors. I mean, we can go on and on and on. What is actually so? Because they left Christianity to practice a religion other than their foremothers' religion while still living a Christian life. What exactly is our Islam religion that nations proclaim? We got to understand it's a difference. The names, issues, and principles of Arabian mixed with a select version of the faith of the Qurayshite, the Moor Muhammad. Is the Arabian al-Islam our religion? No. What is our religion, you may ask? Islamism. Islamism is the religion of our forefathers. How? How does it differ from al-Islam? Islam or Islamism. Islamism is universal law in harmony with self. When God and man is law, when I say I, self, law, and master. When we say arm, leg, arm, head, resulting in peace, the science and study of self-mastery, that Allah and man are one. Al-Islam being the Arabic for peace, which was perfected by Muhammad in Quraysh and Arabic, and has once, unlike Islamism, that the Prophet Noble Ali brought to the Moorish Americans. So we got to know the difference, right? The science, man, and must be willing to learn it. And if we don't know, must be willing to say we don't know. It's certain things we must know. I recommend you get some of this science. This is another great master key. This is another great master key. We're talking about science. If you can't get the books, you order all books from me. I can't get the books, but if you want to know some of the science, I mean, you can get this science. You can get this science. And like I said, I've authored a lot of our Sufism books and everything. So let's get back to this. In the so-called biblical scriptures, when it says, you anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows, and all of that, we know that. We know that. We heard that. But what you just read is the end of what? Psalms 23. But what is that? But what is that? It's the Psalm of David, who is the Temp Oath Av, which is the Temple Omnium Homnios Pas Abba, which is Baphomet, written backwards or written Kabbalistically, which is science. Are you following me, Moors? If you follow me, say yeah. Please. If you follow, there's nothing wrong with no Kabbalistic. That's our science. Are you following me, Moors? If you follow me, Moors, please say something. Say Ashe, say Islam, say I understand, whatever you want to do, we can go on. Please tell me something. Correspond with me, man. I'll talk back. Let's dig, sisters. Let's dig. Let's dig. But what? So when a person try to connotate a Kabbalah and all that, that's not any science. It's your science. That's what that ring. That Baphomet is written Kabbalistically. Tempoph, Av, Temple, Homnio, Pas, Abba. Are we following me? Which is Latin for the father of the temple. Temple, Ab spells backwards is Baphomet, whose meaning we find Baal or Baal, which is Lord, or Hadad, which means son of Dad or son of David. Bedad or Bandad, the son of Dad, father of the Edomites. Hadad, David, Dow, or Dude means the beloved and a mystical character, that beloved one, the Lord's anointed. I mean, it's just a little science. We can get even deeper, but I want to stay basic. If brothers and sisters become students, man, we can teach this, man. Brothers can be students. And I say, if you want to be nationalized through the Moorish Science Temple, I'll direct you to the temple. I'm a school. I'm nationalized through the temple, but I will show you the process and be a student of the school. I teach certain classes 3 days a week, and we can do this right, man, and build an organized nation and do commerce. That's what commerce is, when we're a nation and we do things together. We can employ each other, man. I know brothers and sisters like myself have multiple degrees, and we all doing things separate. If we're willing to come to a round table and willing to give ourselves the chance to do commerce with each other, the same way we'll go spend our money at these stores. We so critical with each other, but we'll go to these big box stores and get treated wrong and still spend our money. So we must understand and do things the right way and sit down at the round table and create commerce. I'm telling you, man, that's the only way we can be an organized nation. So we have class, we have our studies, structure-wise. We have a real school, a temple to where we all can come from all cultures and all backgrounds and learn together from no biased place. And we learn science. We learn esoteric and exoteric law. We learn the 7 Kemetic principles. Because if we can agree and understand and synchronize on the 7 Kemetic principles, then we operate on science. And then if we understand who we are, we're operating in 720. So that's what we're supposed to do. We're not here to cause no confusion. We're here to get our rightful place and operate in our right persona, to be able to have contracts, be able to change things in our own communities. Just like the prophet said, a beggar nation can't save itself. We must understand how to organize. That's why the temple was set up a certain way. That's why I give the history of how Noble Drew Ali set the temple up and why he set the temple up a certain way. It's a reason why. But through the construction of the brazen head, that was a cleverly disguised celestial sphere that mirrored the heavens, as a serious magician had used the 10th Hope Ave to receive answers to the questions that had perplexed them at that time, during that time, Moors. So we got to understand that time. So we got to understand about alchemy and Gnostics in history that were in possession of prophetic so-called devices made of brass, bronze, and brazen heads and things. If you research certain literature, Pope Sylvester and all these other things, when he accused Cardinal Bino for being a sorcerer and an enchanter, William of Malmesbury had told the story of Pope Sylvester II, all these so-called stories. We got to understand this. Mo, I need to help more. If family show me how to do these things, man, we can set this stuff, we can do it. I'm just not all inclined. I don't really have the time, to set it all up. We're doing so much. That's why when I do lectures, I say, family, we need to have a round table and meet. We can help each other and be an organized nation. We can do this. We should be buying things from each other. Business cards, clothing, information we should be doing everything the right way. We should do this. We are spiritual people. So if we're going to do our religion or we're going to be under our divine creed, we should be under the right one. We are spiritual people, family. This is our history. I hope you know this. So we're supposed to be spiritual people and having meeting and having our history and our law and our spiritual time to understand who we are. Right? Come on, Morris. But the Baphomet, like I was telling you, Morris, which Eliseus Levi connotated in the 19th century, Levi has stated back then, the terrible Baphomet is in fact like all monstrous enigmas of ancient science, nothing more than an innocent and even pious hieroglyph. The word hieroglyph comes from the Greek adjective, hieroglyphios, a compound of hieros and sacred. In turn, a long translation of Egyptian, MDW, NTR, or the Metaneter, God's words. Right? Right, family? Therefore, Morris, Baphomet is not evil, but a tool for a magician to connect to the Most High. Understand that? So if we got that, man, we're going to end with that, Morris. Get you a 1828 Webster Dictionary. Get you an 1828 dictionary. So you can't get connotated when you look about what Hellenistic is and a Hellenistic language and Eber and what American is. We can touch so many avenues, Morris. We can touch so many avenues where we can't get connotated. Right? So if we're going to study this science, Morris, we should do it the right way. But Morris, I'm willing to do live lectures, man, and we can do things the right way. And like I said, I'm just here to teach, man. We all have our expertise. I know what I study, and I'm willing to challenge my brothers and sisters to study. But the signs, the symbol is ours, and we are master craftsmen. We got to understand that science. But that's it. I love you all. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, and wealth. Peace.